The world famous community hour episode 2. Community is not about the me. Community is not about the me. Community is about the we. When you're out there on social, anywhere you're talking, don't talk about the me. Talk about the we, the family, the tribe, the people, the world that you are building. Talk about the W-E. Community is the we. Pay it forward. Buckle up. Here we go. Fasten your seatbelts. Episode 2, Community Hour starts right now. And we are live here for episode 2 of the Community Hour. All aboard. Let's go. This is West Coast Live. Blake coming to you live from Las Vegas on the West Coast. We've got an amazing show for you here today. If you're here for another boring community podcast, this surely isn't it. So we've got a great lineup today. We've got Valentina, Biswajeeta. We've got Jordan and some lots of community news and events. There's lots going on. We've got stuff with clicks and other places, things like that. The theme for today is going to be for paying it forward. So like, what are we doing in life to pay it forward? What are we doing for community to pay it forward? Just life's like really crazy and short. So just a few of the like house cleaning things today, just to kind of get up and talk to. It's going to get one of my dogs up here really quick. Hey, puppy, come here. I don't want to come up. So the crazy thing, just to start it off today, interesting story. So I take my dog Gilo into the vet last week for a routine vaccine appointment. They come back and they're basically like, hey, you know your dog has like a heart problem, right? And I'm like, no, nobody's ever told me that. And so they're basically like, long story short, they're like, with this little guy, 13 years old, super hyper, they're like, well, he might be around for a few more days or a few more years. We really don't know. So it's just kind of like one of those things in life. We got to get him looked at and all that stuff. But it just kind of shows in all that we're doing and things like that. Just make the most of today. Your page, what you have today is blank. Don't just go with the routine. Your family, your friends, your pets, hug them, love them. Just, as they told me with this dog's like, could be a few days, could be a few years. You just don't know. Make the most of your day today. And coming up on our show and our theme for paying it forward, what are the ways we can give back, right? It's not just success coming into our door, these amazing things in life happening to us. What are those ways that we can give back both personally and within communities? It could be like on the community, just a nice surprise. Do people always have to do something? Does it have to be like super transactional for someone to get a web badge, a thank you, an encouragement, things like that? Are there other ways we can pay it forward, give this sort of a tribe, this kind of identity where other people are constantly, because you really know it's a community when everybody has each other's back. And just like in personal life, one of my favorite thing is just like helping complete strangers. People are like, dude, why are you helping us out? at a grocery store last week. All the grocery carts are like stuck together. I'm a little bit in a rush, but I'm like, all right, so I can't be in too much of a rush. So it's like starting to just take these grocery carts and give them out to people, things like that. Don't know where like the staff is, but it's just like getting hands on, roll up your sleeve, just as we always have to do as community professionals, and just taking time out to help people. Or like other times, like in Starbucks, I don't do it to the guys in Vegas because they get like really mad. And it's tough to tell because in Vegas, everybody has these like black tinted cars and things. But when the car's behind me at Starbucks, I love to like pay for their order, assuming it's not like $300 or things like that. You gotta have limits, right? So whatever you can afford on your budget, but it's like really cool. And then just try to like take off. Like we're just doing this for helping people out, pay it forward, things like that. Sometimes it starts a line. And then there's other places just in life, other places like just giving back. So generally you have your tribe, the people, your family, your inner circle, but who are those people outside, things like that. There's other people out there that need help and support. So any little thing you can do out there is always amazing. So let's get going. We've got an amazing show today. And up first, I will put on the screen here Valentina Ruffoni, one of the probably the best in the world at virtual events. If you've ever been to like a virtual event, I say like 100%. Like you've seen some sort of tip, tactic, or trick that somebody's gotten from Valentina. Just one of the best when it comes to virtual events, live shows, engagement, just a huge amount of wealth of knowledge. And then just kind of, for me, almost like a big sister just drinking from the fountain that is Valentina. So we have Valentina on today to talk about this amazing framework. And let me get them up to the stage. Valentina, how's it going?
Hello, thank you for that great introduction. You really kind of set me up being the best in the world. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And yeah, virtual events have been, I mean, mine and a lot of people's passions, and also tribes and tribulations over the last 2 years, because we've all had to adapt to virtual events. But I have a background in events, so whether they're in person or virtual, I try and make the most of them. And yeah, just love meeting new people, and super excited to be able to meet in person with people now. And it seems to be getting more and more popular. So can't wait to actually get out and hear lots of different conversations happening at the same time rather than just one, which is usually what happens on a virtual event. But thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's so great to have you here. I'm just putting into the chat the thing that we're talking about with the spring framework. But really, it's like every time I go into like a virtual event, and which is just like there's so many, and I'm like, that's something they got from Valentina or somebody else got from Valentina. So it's just like when we talk like pay it forward, like anytime somebody goes to an event that Valentina does over at Disciple Media places, do it. Like if you're an event marketing person community, you will learn something. You will get one thing like, oh my God, right? Because so many of like the virtual events, it's like you get this very corporate kind of thing that people do with it. And then it's like so stuffy. And it's like, why in the world would anybody want to come to these? The kind of like these really carefully meticulous packaged webinars. And they're just like so tight and stuffy. And the actual audience, there's no chances to engage, things like that. And I could go on all day. Like I'm like a super fan of Valentina, so I will have to cut myself off because we do not have like 80 billion hours to like sing their praises.
Thank you. No, I agree. Boring webinars and online events are not something that I will ever attend or create. So I try and find ways to make them fun, because there is a lot of choice out there and you want people to come to your events. So you have to make it unique, and you have to create that FOMO that everyone wants to be there.
Yeah, exactly. And so for just the people here today, so just taking a step back, they're like, trying to like just give some bearings. So for a little bit about Valentina today, what you're doing, what you're up to, and also just like a shout out for LinkedIn. So definitely go follow Valentina on LinkedIn. It's like you're constantly on there. Speaking of like pay it forward, you're like anytime there's an open job, everybody has an event. Like it's like you have everybody in the community's professions back. So what are you up to these days? How can people connect with you? What are the opportunities they should look for?
Yeah, so I am the community experience manager at Disciple, which is a community platform. I help manage our customer community, the collective, using our platform, of course. So I spend 24 hours of my day pitched up in a little virtual tent inside of our community, helping our customers build thriving communities. There's a lot of community building that I'm doing. And as you said, I am very active on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. And when I was looking for a job, I found it difficult to find different places to go and see where all the jobs were. So now that I have a job, I figured, okay, I'm seeing a lot of these on LinkedIn. Why don't I just share these with a hashtag community job alert, and hopefully someone can see it. Maybe it's a job for them. And I'll be honest, I don't create much content on LinkedIn. So in order for me to stay active, I like to post things. And why not post jobs that can help other people? I also post events as well. So if you're looking for a job or an attend a community event, that is what I mostly post, aside to things that I might have time in my free time to create. But yeah, I am a big fan of LinkedIn. So you can find me there.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then just on Disciple, so what are the ways like for other community professionals? I know you've got like some events, other types of stuff. So there are other ways like what should community professionals know about Disciple and anything that you have going on there? Should they want to reach out to?
Yeah, so our community is actually open to everybody. All our events are open for anyone to join. We have different events based on our feature set, community building. We bring in experts that come and talk about different topics. So if you want to come and join us, feel free to join us. You can download the app in the App Store or the Google Play Store, the Collective Community, or go to the collective.disciplemedia.com. And if you're looking for a community platform and you're looking to build an app around it, then we are for you as well. I know there's a lot of different platforms out there these days. So yeah, come and see what we've got and if we're the right thing for you.
Awesome. And obviously talk a little bit on events here too. We've kind of touched on it, but you're here today to talk about the Spark framework. And what really struck me, and I put a link to it in chat. So for Valentina, you can get information on the collective in chat, got their LinkedIn in chat. But what's really interesting when I read the Spark framework, which is also in chat, is one of the things out of the CMX does this industry report. And so just kind of like, I didn't have a chance to read it, but just as I'm going through talking to people on the phone and things like this and different conversations, people said that the big thing that seemed to spike out, and haven't looked at it, is that everyone's struggling with community engagement. And so when I looked at this, what you have with the Spark model is like for anybody like struggling with community engagement, here's like a page where you can really go to really this, if you're struggling in any way, this is like kind of gold for helping to jumpstart that. So for people kind of at a high level and maybe going a little bit into the weeds. So if all these people out there are struggling with engagement, what that looks like, what it means for their community, how do we roll it into strategy? How do we measure it? How do we what are the programs, initiatives, et cetera, et cetera? But then it's like you still have to have that framework. So if you want to talk a little bit about the Spark model, the framework for encouraging conversations and deepening connections.
Yeah, so a little bit of context of why I came up with this framework. In the collective, we have a lot of our customers who aren't community builders. They're business owners who have the community as well. They're a team of one, like a lot of us within the industry. And it can be difficult to juggle everything you're doing. And I was trying to find ways of really helping people out in the easiest and most tangible way to help with engagement, because as you said, it comes up all the time. Like every time I speak to someone, I say, okay, what are you struggling with? Engagement. And I think that goes for people that are just starting in the industry and people who have been in the industry for a long time, that it kind of goes up and down with engagement. You think you're doing something really well, and then suddenly something happens. So I was like, okay, what can I create that's going to help people that are maybe just launched their community, those that have been going for a while and are feeling like they want to create that spark again, and for those that have been in the industry for a very long time that need to go back to basics. So that was the kind of inspiration, I guess, for the framework. So Spark stands for 5 things. It stands for strategize, participate, acknowledge. Now the R stands for 3 things: review, rework, and repeat. And then the last one is keep track. And this framework allows you, no matter what you're doing, whether you're looking to build engagement, whether you're looking to grow your community or convert your community, you can apply this framework to everything you do. So strategize is very much looking at the community strategy. Do you have one? First of all, the amount of people I've spoken to who do not have a strategy, they say, oh yeah, it's all up in my head. And I'm like, yeah, but how do you get that onto paper and in your community? It's so important to have some sort of document that you can note down what you want to do, what you're doing now, what's not working. And CMX have a really good other framework, the 7Ps, which I use quite often. And I really advise people to have that document, because if you've got a team, how's your team meant to know what's going on? So that's the strategize part. Now, with a regular community strategy, you're looking at the whole bigger picture. With this, you're really focusing on, okay, what do I want to achieve? For example, I want to increase engagement by 10% within my community. So you really laser in on the goal that you want to achieve, and you start to strategize around that. Once you have your strategy in place, you're like, right, this is what I'm going to do. You will then obviously start to implement it, and then you've really got to participate. The amount of people that have come to me and like, well, I created the community and now no one's talking. And I'm like, well, are you talking? Are you getting involved? And like, oh, do I need to? Like, I don't see why I have to. I'm like, people are not going to get involved if you don't. And I spent years before I was in the role that I'm in now, building my own community, Eat Out Madrid, which is a Facebook group for people who like to eat out. And I spent hours and hours a day just creating content, replying in comments. And it really took up a lot of time. But now I'm really happy to say that that community goes by itself. People are posting, people are jumping in people's conversations, and I don't have to be in there as much as I used to, because I've created those habits within my members. They're posting the right things, such as asking for recommendations or sharing where they've been, and people are helping each other out. So the participation part is absolutely key. Next up is acknowledgement. Your members will not want to continue to get involved if you're not acknowledging them for what they're doing, whether it's their first post or whether they've shared a really great answer to someone's question. Or maybe you've got top contributor list and you want to acknowledge them. If you don't do that, people won't really build trust with you, they won't feel valued, and they won't return. So you can do this in simple ways. You don't have to give out prizes and do something grand like an award ceremony. You can literally do a post once a month and say, these people have really got involved this month. Or you could just reach out via direct message and say, hey, I've seen how active you've been recently. Really appreciate it. I just wanted to say thank you. There's so many things you can do that cost nothing. So that's really the acknowledge part. Now, the R, which stands for 3 things, review, rework, and repeat, is all about looking back at that S, that strategy, that strategized part, and really seeing, is this working? Now, a lot of people who strategize and put in place what they want to do never test it out for long enough, I feel. They do it for like a week and like, oh, it's not working, I give up. With this, you really have to give it time. And I can't tell you the exact amount of time something's going to take to be able to tell whether it's working or not. You will just know. What we've been doing is trying things out for a quarter to see how it works. And then we compare that to the quarter before. So look at what you've been doing over the last quarter and the tasks that you strategized. Are they working? Are people getting involved? Are you seeing X amount of comments on a post like you wanted to? If you're not, you then need to rework your strategy and think about, okay, what do we need to change in order to get to where we need to be? Sometimes you only need to change like a tiny thing, like the time that you post your content, for example. It doesn't have to be changing your whole strategy just to get to the answer. Then once it's working, you then want to put it into repeat. Now, I'm not saying that you put it into repeat and then for X amount of months you just keep doing the same. That's not the case. The case is, okay, you found something that's working. Think about how you can apply that to other types of strategies. Because a lot of the time, if you do one thing for an extended period of time, sometimes it does fizzle out a little bit. So then you have to think, okay, how do I rework it? So you're constantly reworking your strategy as you go through the time that your community is around. And then lastly, and I think most importantly, is keeping track. The amount of people, again, that I've spoken to and I've said, oh, how does this compare to what you did last month or 3 months ago? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, what's your engagement rates from then? Like, oh, we're not tracking it. So this is really important, because if you're not tracking it, you've got nothing to compare to. You can't see where you went wrong, where you did really well. So most community platforms have analytics, they vary. And what I do is have a Google sheet where I have all of the analytics for each month. We average it per quarter, we average it by year, and we can go through and see, okay, November is really good. What happened in November? And then we can look back at our content calendar and be like, we had a challenge. We did this. So that's why keeping track is really important. And that is really the SPARK framework. And hopefully that framework is easy for almost anyone to implement, no matter what you're trying to do, and doesn't involve too many steps, and is really just workable for most communities. So yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Keeping it simple, but the interesting part here is a lot of times where people will kind of miss in industries, especially like in community, is like they'll see a lot of cool stuff or tactics, and kind of like depending on where that customer is or company brand and their journey, it's like, there's not a foundation framework that they're basing all that off of. Like, you can get lost fast in terms of not knowing what's working, like you mentioned, things like that. But it's kind of at the same time, the framework and the foundations can be the most boring thing, even if it's something highly compelling like this. And so when you look at where Valentina and other people like them got today, they're putting in foundations and frameworks that everything else is being based on. And so it's always like boring work, but when you put in that time, it's just like going to the gym. You can't just be like a world-class sprinter, right? The next day, there's so much gym time. Using a framework like Valentina's mentioned, it's going to be work. Read this post like 5 times, 10 times, get it down, start getting into the foundation framework. And so that's like generally the tough part there, because we're just seeing the success and the tactics, but you're not seeing all the other things that are going on. And one thing I really, just to kind of key into, is the 3 R's one, because a lot of people will try something out once and then just kind of like drop it. So I'll see them do something. It's like, never again, right? So they're just constantly in a state of iterating things like that. But I really love that, putting it into an actual operationalizing something. So that's I thought that was amazing.
Yeah. And don't forget, like, if something doesn't work, it doesn't mean you have to throw it away. Put it on the shelf, because it may be something that really works in 3 months, 6 months time. And I think that's what we do a lot, is we're like, this is not working, throw it in the bin, forget about it. And all that hard work that you spent strategizing around it and planning it goes to waste. So just put it to the side and bookmark it for now, because you never know when you might need it again.
And then you kind of touched on, but for every community professional, we get to this moment, it's the roll up the sleeves moment, right? Are we just going to sit back? Are community members talking to us? What are they thinking? What are they feeling? Should we do a survey? Are they liking stuff? Or like, wow, people don't seem to be talking, engaging. And then it's like you're like on this like sidelines, you're looking at something like over the horizon almost. And you talked about it with Eat Out Madrid, this roll up your sleeve moment, like, hold up, I need to like dive in here and start engaging. If everybody's going to do it, I have to be like, just as in leadership, I need to roll up my sleeves as a professional. So we all get that moment at different times, but you just kind of, for me, it's like, yeah, you crystallize that roll up the sleeve moment. So maybe just talk a little bit more about your roll up the sleeve moment with Eat Out Madrid, and how you sort of were able to apply what you're talking about today with it.
Yeah. I mean, it was a case of really taking off the whole jacket rather than rolling up the sleeves, really, because I built it from nothing. So there was nobody in the beginning. And when there's nobody there, yes, you are talking to yourself for a long time. You're posting and you're getting nothing back. It's crickets. We hear it so often, but you have to keep pushing through. The amount of times that I created posts of, I really fancy this type of food. Anyone know where to get it? I didn't want to go and eat that food. I'm just doing it to try and create conversation. Yes, I did eat out a lot so that I could then post that I was eating in different places. That was a really fun part. But yeah, it's so important, because people, one, need to know who you are as the community host. They need to trust you, know who to reach out to when they may have a problem. And you also, as I said before, you need to build these habits on what you want your members to share. So I really wanted them to share questions about where they wanted to go and the recommendations of best places they've been to. The only way of doing that was by me doing it. So you're kind of not forcing them to do it, but you're building that habit. So they're like, oh, wait, I went here the other day. I must post about it in Eat Out Madrid. And I didn't have this framework or a community strategy or anything 5 years ago, 6 years ago when I created it. And I wish I had. And I know there's so many people right now that are looking to get into the industry. The industry is booming, we know. And I just feel like, as a way of giving back, like I created this framework to help our community builders that are building communities with Disciple, but why not share that with everybody else as well? Because this framework, again, can be applied to almost anybody. And I wanted to make it simple and easy, and everyone loves a framework. And, hopefully it does help spark that engagement, that growth, that conversion, whatever you're looking for in your community. And it's very adaptable as well. So yeah, that is the whole Spark framework in a nutshell. And yeah, I just hope that it's valuable to somebody else that's watching.
Yeah, and we actually have a question here from Toby Metcalf, who asked Valentina, and this is for all our people who be listening to this on podcast. So we got to keep mindful of people that are like, Blake, I'm not watching this. All right. So Toby Metcalf asked, Valentina, have you ever tried a weekly wrap up post highlighting customer actions as well as calling out open unanswered questions?
That's a very good question. And I haven't ever tried that, actually. I am very active within the collective community. So there isn't any questions that don't get answered, is the answer to that. I believe in the power of tagging to help get people to jump in and answer. And the only way to know who to tag is by getting to know your members. So that is something that I do on a daily basis. We do on a monthly basis a kind of wrap up of celebrations within the community, and we have our newsletters that go out that wrap up and link back to the community based on discussions of the week, what kind of challenges we're organizing. We don't do anything that's inside of the community on a weekly basis because we just haven't needed to be honest.
Yeah, great question. And so it's just like the TLDR is almost like, for what we're saying, is like, don't wait for the community success to happen. Roll up your sleeves, take off your jacket, whatever the case is, and go out, start making that community success happen. If you've got it in your mind, things like that, something to be successful, get out there, make it. Don't just sit around waiting for it. So
May not have to sit around, to be honest. Like,
yeah. It's like if you're just waiting for all this stuff to happen, like you're just like, hey, everyone's going to do all this community stuff, right? We know that just isn't the case. And Toby just says, thanks for addressing. Good point about tagging. The same thing. It's like waiting for conversations to happen or just helping to like seed it, get it going, things like that. Two other questions for you here as we kind of like start to go out. But as we're great learning about the Spark framework. So before we get on to the next guest, just quickly talk about two things. So the last one about just kind of paying it forward, things like that. But just in terms of like virtual events, while I have you here, you're one of the best in the world. So just people would throw things at me if I didn't ask. So we just went through the pandemic. So we saw this spike. And suddenly everybody wants to do a virtual event. You go to 7-Eleven, you go to a gas station, you go to Heathrow. Everybody's doing their own virtual events, podcast shows like that. And now we're kind of, in some places moving out of that. So what are these kind of macro trends you're just kind of seeing with events? And what kind of are some of the operational or tips or tactics or things like, what does Valentina think? We're kind of entering into a new phase. So what would be kind of like your summarized thing of like, here's what you would need to know? Because I'm sure you're going to get asked this question a million times.
Yeah. So virtual events are here to stay, is the first thing. However, the in-person events are coming back, and that is really exciting. I think a lot of people are just done with virtual events. There are so many now, and a lot of us are working on our computers even more than ever. So the last thing we want to do after hours is spend more time on the computer. So I do think in-person events are going to come back with a boom, and people are going to go out and realize, oh my God, I missed this so much. Having said that, though, organizing an in-person event is really hard work. And after being out of the industry for so long, I'm at a point where I'm like, how do I do this again? Because you just haven't done it for so long. And depending on where you are in the world, there are different restrictions still. So there is that difficulty. So if you are looking to host an in-person event, there is going to be a lot more work involved in that, which I think is why a lot of people are staying with the virtual event part. Hybrid, I'm not sure about how that's going to work, because that's essentially 2 events in one. And usually there's only one events manager. So I do not want to be the person that's involved in planning those 2 events, because you really need 2 people or even more than that. Yes, you're able to target and get an audience much bigger by being online, but it is a lot more work. So that's something that you need to think about. And is the work worth it for what you're doing? Is it going to bring enough value to the people that you want? Are you really targeting the right people just because you're being online as well? I don't know. That's something you have to think about. But I am super excited for in-person events. I can't wait for when CMX Summit is in person. We're actually hosting our very first in-person event for Disciple in 2 weeks' time in London. So I'm actually getting to meet some of our customers, which seems crazy, but it's really exciting. So can't wait for that. And yeah, anyone who wants to invite me to any of their events, please feel free. Happy to give any advice as well. Just reach out to me on LinkedIn. Happy to share what I can.
All right. And then just that last question, and we've got our news portion. You can stick around for, too if you want. Just that last question. So our theme today is just kind of like paying it forward. So just from the Valentina side, are there things in your daily life or things also like in your community life where you're like doing something to pay it forward?
Yeah, so it's actually something I really missed is live music, especially the people that are out on the street playing live music, because you can listen to Spotify all day, right? Yesterday, actually, I was out walking and I saw a group playing classical music. And when you just stop and stand there for like 5-10 minutes, and they were so good that I gave them quite a bit of money, because I was just like, I've missed this, and these people are out here for hours doing what they love. And it's really good. So I urge you, if you ever see anybody that is doing a talent that you really like, just say thank you by giving them whatever you have in your purse. And in terms of professionally, you've already mentioned it on LinkedIn. I love to share these job and event posts. So if you're looking for a constant flow of jobs and events, make sure you follow me on LinkedIn. The power of sharing is incredible. You never know who will see it and who needs something like a new job or attend an event or see a piece of content. So that's the way I like to give back, is by sharing other people's things.
Wow, amazing. Well, Valentina, it was so great to have you here. Hopefully you can stick around for the news portion. But just, for me professionally, getting just to spend time around you, seeing you in action, just a million things that you're doing, putting into all the events, all that you're doing. And so you can easily see where you're taking that also into like all aspects of community too, not just events, right? So definitely just amazing to just have the chance to spend time to learn from you, to grow from you. And it doesn't matter if you're like been doing this like 100 years, 200 years. It's like there's always different ways and different things to go. So it's just kind of always like community professionals, like staying humble, staying open to your antenna out there for new ideas. And so it's just really great that you've helped me out. You've helped so many people out. Our virtual event game, our community game benefits so greatly for it. And just Disciple Media is so lucky to have you and everybody else that gets to spend time with Valentina, learning about this amazing framework, and also just with events and community. You bring so much to this industry. You're inspiring so many people out there. So just you're like a kind of a North Star for a lot of us. So just thank you, Valentina, for all that you do.
No, thank you, Blake. And thank you for allowing me to come on and speak today. It's been great. I love this show.
Awesome. Well, it was really great to have you. If you want to stick around for the news part.
Yeah,
and hopefully this in-person event in 2 weeks goes great. I know when I did my first in-person event, it was like usually during heights of the virus. So that was always like even more of a nightmare things like this. So hopefully yours goes smoothly, and it's like you're dusting off so much stuff, cobwebs in your mind, and whew, it's a lot getting that first one, but it's definitely worth it.
Definitely. Thanks, Blake.
Awesome. All right. And moving on, our next guest will be on here to talk about Uncommunity Biswajeeta. I'm probably saying the name wrong again, even though I keep trying to say it a million times. Biswa. We will get them up to the stage right now to talk about Uncommunity. How's it going? Thanks for joining.
Hi. Okay, so let me just clear the air. It's
All right.
Biswajeeta.
Biswajeeta.
um,
One day I'm going to get it right. I promise you. I'm sorry.
that's cool. But yeah, I start my name with, you can call me Biswa so that it's not really difficult for anyone else. Um, so yeah, I am here representing Uncommunity, and so excited to be here. And I am still taking notes from the last session with Valentina. It's amazing to share the screen with you. And I hope to share the stage with you soon.
Nice.
So I really hope that happens really soon.
Awesome. And then for those not familiar with you, talk a little bit about who you are, where you are on community, and then also professionally, like what are you up to, what company you working for, things like that.
Hmm.
And anything else you want to share about getting into this amazing world of community.
Oh, sure. So I am Biswajita and I am joining from India, Bangalore. I actually went into community management 3 years back. And I'm sorry, is that me who's looking at the banner right now, or like everybody else can see the banner?
No,
Like
we're all good.
I can't see you. So I mean,
Yep, we're all good.
okay, cool. So yeah, so I actually joined the community industry 3 years back. I was a social media content marketing person before that, and like just like most of us, I think. I don't know if I speak for you, but when I speak to other community managers, they all say that they're accidental community managers, and because I was handling social media for an institute here, I got a part-time job in community. I got a part-time job in community management, and back then I didn't know that community management is actually a career, especially in in the Indian parlance. It was very new, and somehow I stumbled upon this career path, and yeah, since then there is no looking back. I love every part of it. So after building off my skills in community management part time while actually working for as a account executive for a social media tool, I applied for jobs to be a full-time community manager, and luckily, I think you also know Matt. Matt hired me for managing the B2B. B2B SaaS community for them. It's a global community, and we know that it's been there for more than 14 years now, and I am so lucky to be a community specialist right now. I'm handling the internal trainings and the external engagement part as well for them. And yeah, I'm having a ball of a time right now. And yes, so that's about my day job. What I am here is to speak about is my side hustle, that is Uncommunity. uh, so Uncommunity is actually, if you go to uncommunity.club, you'll find the resources related to community management, and you will also find a way to subscribe to our newsletters. So, Blake, like if you remember the last time we spoke, we actually you remember I told you like there is no typical day for a community manager, right? So it goes, it can go from very smooth to it can upheaval our day in a jiffy, right? So uh, And although it's something that actually is keeping us grounded to this industry, and also this is how it makes our days and lives interesting. At the same time, we become a bit overwhelmed, when community management is considered, and maybe we feel alone, or maybe we feel like, okay, there is nothing from where I can get inspiration, and all those stuff of imposter syndrome is another thing that comes up in our mind. So this uncommunity is something that actually wants to um, like eliminate that. So uncommunity was started 2 years back by Rafi and Vishal, who could not join today, but I'm representing it. I joined uncommunity just 2 months back. So so yeah, I'm just keeping I'm actually reading the YouTube comments as well. Thank you so much, Matt. So yeah, Uncommunity, yeah. So Uncommunity is like, if you go to uncommunity.club, you will find the resources regarding community management segregated in the form of, let's say, book, podcast, templates, checklist, and things like that. And you will find that everything related to community management in that website, in that portal. So we try to keep it current and fresh. And also, not only that, we have a newsletter. So when you go to uncommunity.club, you will find a newsletter. You'll find a newsletter subscription button over there, and in there, in that newsletter is something that I'm running along with the team, with the team. So today I'm going to send that newsletter. And you know what, as we speak, in my dashboard, I have one AMA, six podcasts, around four blog posts, and let me see my notes 1 second. Yeah, two upcoming events, and four tweets. And we don't have jobs right now, but we usually also, give a link to the latest job openings as well. So yeah, I mean, this is what we get every week. The content just keeps blowing up every week. And when they actually started 2 years back, Rafi and Vishal, it was actually a bi-weekly newsletter. But since I joined, I strive to make it a weekly one. And it is a weekly newsletter that's sent out every Wednesday. So yeah, that's what we are doing. This is like our way of giving back to the community industry. And I am nobody, like, I'm in community management in for 3 years, but they have been there for the last 10 years or so. And this is their way of giving back to the industry. um, and the request that we have is, right now, if you feel that this is something really valuable for you, then please subscribe to us, give us a shout out. And also, like, you can find me on Twitter, LinkedIn. Don't be a stranger, you can come and talk about any feedback that you have. We want to, like, keep it really fresh, and we want to make it fun for everyone, right? So yeah, I mean, that's what it is. And yeah, that's what uncommunity is. And yeah, just building off of Valentina's thing, Valentina has been a really great source for us as well. She shares it, that we in turn share it with our 700 plus community management professionals, who has actually subscribed to us. So thank you, Valentina, for that. You keep sharing the good stuff that you get. So yeah, that's about it, I guess.
And nice. And so, any kind of interesting stories from the team there, from yourself, in terms of like a success story or anything that's interesting that's happened so far since you've been with Uncommunity?
So I wouldn't say success yet, but looking at the vision and the mission of Uncommunity, we have gotten two inbound requests for partnership and sponsorships. So that is one morale boosting thing that has happened after I joined. And yeah, as I said, they actually started this 2 years back. Back then it was a bi-weekly thing, and back then there was not a lot of content available. But right now you are seeing the influx of content every now and then, right? So what now it's like kind of a part-time job for me to actually go to each and every content that we are getting in the social media. And yeah, like we want to vet and see if it is actually it's actually worthy of reporting or not. So yeah, that's what we are doing right now. So the tables have turned. Back then it was like we didn't have a lot of content, but right now, it's just blew up. So yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, and I think we're all pretty much accidental community managers. There's probably somebody watching this now that's getting like a billion T-shirts made, and so probably the next event, next summit, everybody's going to have accidental community manager director. That's pretty much all of us that represents that. One question I was going to ask while you're here is like everybody that touches, Matt over there in France, just kind of talks about Matt's uh, style of generosity and leadership. So I was just curious from you, like, what is from working with Matt, what is that kind of leadership and generosity and kind of helping him to as a community professional? If you could talk just a little bit about Matt, who's just an amazing person and does so much for so
Yeah,
many people.
totally. So I'm so lucky to be his subordinate right now. Yeah, so Matt's leadership style is very generous, I would say. I mean, he doesn't force everyone, but in a way he also lets everyone know what community is. I see him day in and day out, getting into meetings, getting out of meetings, and advocating the hell out of the community, in internally. So he has that knack of explaining community, and he doesn't get tired at all. Like, I don't know how he keeps up every day. So yeah, he kind of it's so inspiring to see such a leader who is so passionate about communities, and who can go on about communities day in and day out. And you know what, the curse of knowledge, right? Even though he has been there since the last, I guess, I don't know, 8 to 10 years now. He doesn't get tired of talking about communities and BMC community with our subordinates as well. So that is something, that's the kind of leadership I am with right now. Yeah, whether it's stakeholder buy-in, whether it's uh, getting on a call with someone else from the other team members, he's always up for it, and I don't know how he never gets tired. He's a robot. But yeah, I'm totally inspired by the way he actually takes things up.
Yeah, he's like a Tesla, one of these like cars that never needs to be recharged. He's the thing for I don't even know
Yeah,
how long you've known him, but yeah,
it comes off the passion, that we actually talk about. Like, that's what it is actually.
nice. And Lori says in chat, one of the many things I love about community is that everyone helps each other. We completely agree with that. Um,
Exactly.
Yeah, and just two other questions here before I get on to Jordan. So then for since we've got people in from all over the world, so I'm sitting over here, West Coast, Las Vegas, out in the desert, but just in India today, what does the community scene look like in terms of just the people that are community members in India? And also then for the professions, people in India looking to get into that profession, what does it kind of look like? I sit over here, so I'm not even too sure. But in a place like Bangalore, a thriving place in India,
Yeah,
what essentially are you seeing? It'd be kind of interesting for people outside of India to have some of that insight.
sure. Such a good question. So what I have seen in my experience is, the up and coming generation, the Gen Z, they are so enthusiastic about communities, and they are so much into the sense of belonging. because of maybe the pandemic effect of, or maybe something else, I don't know, but I'm so inspired to see them like they are so vocal in social media, and they are now itself, like they are at the very beginner stage of their career. They are trying to give back to the society by by sharing their knowledge, or maybe creating communities of their own. So I feel like if they have actually created a community while being a student, or maybe if they are in another job, just like I was in another job and I luckily got the part time offer, right? This actually helps building of a kind of a community skill, so that it helps in getting a good job later on, that is like an enterprise level job later on. So that's my experience. um I think, yeah, that's about it. It's mostly about how, or yeah, one more thing is they are also becoming creators, and creators are inherently community builders, right? I I hope you agree with me. So um, that also helps them, if they want to create a career in community management. That is what I'm seeing in India right now. In the last 1 or 2 years, yeah.
Wow, this has been amazing just to have you on today, learning about Uncommunity, community scene in India, accidental community manager. It definitely speaks to all of us. There's never a boring day as a community professional. Hardly some weeks, no 2 days are the same. But the last
Totally.
question before I let you go, and you're definitely welcome to come back for the news portion. Last question is, so for Pay It Forward, what do you kind of for you both professionally and personally? Are there any things that you're currently doing for Pay It Forward above and beyond on community?
Yeah, so Uncommunity is one thing professionally that I'm doing right now. Apart from that, I think you would be knowing about BMC Cares. So we have the volunteer portal, where we can go ahead and they have like a list of jobs, or the list of volunteer jobs that we can do. Either we can mentor someone, or we can do something that helps make this planet a bit like a better place. For example, right now they have something for sustainability. So they have this 30-day challenge right now. So I would say that BMC is helping me a lot to give it back to the society. They have this amazing portal called BMC Care, where everyone can go ahead and nominate themselves to use the voluntary hours that they have. So yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm taking this challenge one, and few days back I took another one, that is like creating audio books out of ebooks, so that it helps the visually impaired uh, to read. Yeah, that's what I did in December. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. Every quarter at least I have to I make sure that I use my voluntary hours. That's how I'm doing it right now.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. That was really amazing. That's definitely some inspiration there for everybody on this Thursday, April 7th. It was so great learning about what you're up to, a little bit at BMC, working with Matt, and especially with the team. Amazing work that y'all are doing over at on Community. Great to also see, as kind of we're always noting, there's probably like billions of others that Valentina is helping. So we get additional thanks, Valentina, for sure. So stick around if you want to be
Totally.
on the news later on.
Thank you.
All right. Up next, my friend Matt has got me hooked up. Matt has this amazing tool, Invision Community, that's been around for 20 years. We have another Las Vegas person out here with me that is braving the crazy traffic of Vegas. You talk about community life, never having a boring day. There's no boring days out here living in Vegas. So we are blessed to have Jordan Miller from Envision Community. So many of these platforms have come and gone over the years. Envision has been a rock. And really just with everything that the team there has been doing, has been stellar and amazing, and testament to why it's been around for 20 years. So definitely a lot of amazing community work, amazing platform and leadership going on there. So let me bring up Mr. Jordan Miller. Jordan, how's it going?
Going pretty good. How about you?
Pretty good. I'm not having to get out to drive here in Vegas yet, so no crazy people that I have to worry about. So I'm feeling pretty good. Just that it's a little bit earlier than normal.
Yeah, that's the beauty of working kind of this digital remote kind of job is fortunately we don't have to, at least for me, I don't have to brave the insanity out there too often. Just kind of hide away in my little neighborhood and get to work.
Nice. I just kind of was like feel like I had to bless myself. Like, oh my God, I have to go like 2 minutes away to the grocery store. Please, Lord, let me get there and back without a fender bender or something crazy. But so far so good. But yeah, so
Mhm.
just huge congratulations to you for Envision Community in 20 years. If you want to talk a little bit about Jordan, where you're from, you're obviously in Vegas, and this 20 years with Envision, and anything else people should know about you. Are you accidental community like all of us too?
Yeah, so appreciate you having me on. Today's my birthday, so I'm gonna just put that out there. So it's a special day, of course, and I'm feeling good. I'm feeling excited to be here. And in terms of my role with Envision Community and Envision Community being 20 years old, first of all, that's an eternity in internet years. So the fact that we've been able to not only like be sustainable throughout that entire time, but in my opinion, we're thriving. I think this is currently the best the platform the team has ever been. We're constantly working on improving. I personally try to have a growth mindset always, and I think that that's something that resonates with the team, and that's something we all have in common is we want to continually grow. That's one of the ingredients of community building is striving to become better and growing. Throughout these 20 years, I personally was a client of Envision Communities and still am for probably 12 or 13 of those years. That's actually how I stumbled upon this role, which is sales and marketing for Envision Community. So, long story short, to give people a little background on who I am and how I came into this role, I started a Britney Spears / pop music news community in 2004. And so it's going to be 18 years old in the near future. And it has obviously amassed a big following because of Britney's and her in particular, her stardom. It was the birthplace of the Free Britney movement. And so just throughout all of that, my team is probably rolling their eyes right now because they joke that I can't not bring up my community. It's called Breathe Heavy in every conversation. But it's important to paint a picture of how I think how I fell into this role. Because yeah, I agree. I also am like a community manager or whatever you want to label me, kind of by mistake. Kind of just happened, and I think that that's what makes people like me in this position special. Because it's like I didn't seek it out; it just kind of came to me, and it's a passion that I found, and I think that resonates with a lot of community managers. And so I've used Envision Community because I think it's a very powerful platform. It's a great way to be able to connect people to engage in meaningful conversations, which is the point of community. I think oftentimes we're just people in general, most people don't know the power of community, although they participate in it every single day, whether it's them just simply being in a neighborhood or using social media. But meaningful connections and meaningful engagement is something separate. And I think that's where our platform really thrives and excels because we build tools and features with that in mind. And we aren't so like, yes, we're feature focused, but like ultimately what I want people to take away from what I'm saying right now is like, we're a team that cares about community. We care about people and our clients. I know it sounds cheesy, but I'm a cheesy guy and it is what it is. So hopefully that kind of painted a better picture for you.
Yeah, and I'll add on to the cheesy and just say, oh yeah,
We
oh
match.
yeah. But
I'm
yeah,
gonna bust through the wall.
whoa, yeah. So
Yeah.
we can also then just say happy birthday to Jordan, happy
Yes.
birthday to Jordan, Happy
Thank
birthday
you.
to accidental community managers in Jordan and Envision Community 20 years. Happy
Wow.
birthday to all the monitors and Logitech webcams I'm breaking right now. Happy birthday to you.
Wow, you really did the full song. Good job. That was
Hey, why
awesome.
not? Yeah, yeah. And so just getting into Envision, so probably for a lot of the teams, what I see today for a lot of the companies, to kind of paint the picture, because I know you got some stuff to show, people will go like, hey, I just set up like a Slack. I just set up a Discord. That's community, right? I'm good. I don't need like anything else. And then you're
Mhm.
like, well, what's your single source of truth? What's your knowledge base? How the hell are people going to Google a conversation in Slack? How the hell are people going to Google a conversation in Discord? Where do these tools matter? There's a reason they've been around for like 20 years and building thriving communities. And so for the professionals watching today, they're probably like, hey, I've got an RFP. I've got like some people to look at. What are the, like, if I'm putting Envision out there as you're like going through that presentation, what are these kind of like differentiators? What are some of the things that I can come to expect with Envision that I'm not going to get like anywhere else? So feel free to just take that ball, run with it. Don't want to keep you too long since it's your birthday, but let's see a little bit
Okay.
about it. And it's great to have one of the hottest community tools out there and for you to talk about it.
So thank you. So in terms, well, first of all, I did put a little presentation together. However, I know you mentioned this is also a podcast, which I didn't know. So I think it'd
And
be
you
a
can
good,
talk to it as well. You can talk to it. So we can do it either
yeah,
way.
this would be a good opportunity for us just to be, I think, just to kind of be talking back and
All right,
forth.
let's do it.
Um, and so in terms of like chat and like Discord and that whole kind of thing, yeah, it's powerful. I'm not gonna like pretend that it's not. Our own team uses Slack to communicate. So in terms of like it chat in general, it can be really a powerful tool. I think it's important. It just serves a different purpose. It doesn't necessarily serve going after and consuming, meaningful content. It's more to keep you up to date with things, up to speed, which is important. I think like when there's a topic, you go into so when I say topic, that's what we call these threads in our forum, and so they're synonymous. And so those are really great places to be able to kind of get your thoughts out in more long form. You wouldn't really just drop a smiley in a topic on our forum with our platform. Typically, people don't do that. You write a sentence or at least a couple sentences to get your thoughts out. Whereas chat, it's like very fleeting. It's very in the moment. I find that social media is a little bit of the same, where like you're not usually going to have an engaging, meaningful conversation in the comments on Facebook or Instagram. And Twitter is obviously a super powerful platform as well. But you have to like create, Twitter threads, and like you have to have, 10 tweets and number them. And it's like to get your point across, and people have to respond in the same way. So that's one of the most powerful things I think about our platform is that it's designed to be, like like a warm hug. It's designed to like be, more of an opportunity for the member to engage and to engage with one another. And especially in a time where it's like we're still like in this weird kind of world where it's like the pandemic and inflation and people are just feeling kind of down, and it's like the great resignation and just all these things happening simultaneously. It's Our platform provides opportunities for people to connect with each other across the globe, and in real time, 24/7. I can't go too much into detail of what we're working on, but we're working on real time features to kind of, I don't want to use the word compete with things like chat, but yeah, I guess basically like that's how we remained online for 20 years, is because we can see the trends. We want to implement them, but do it in our own kind of style. So I know that was a little cryptic, but stay tuned. Um, and just to kind of touch on a couple of things for those listening / watching, if you're just like, what is Envision Community? Like if I haven't explained it well enough yet, in a nutshell, it's a community platform, and small, medium, and large businesses can utilize this platform to create a community component for their brand / company. That's it in kind of like a high level view. So for example, if you have like, you want to run a fishing community, and it's, you're going to only really aim to have 100 members. It's in your local town. That's your goal. Cool. We got you on that. You could be an enterprise client. Like, for example, we have Lego or Squarespace or Fiverr, Corsair, some of these like juggernaut entities. They also use our platform, but utilize it in a different way to also create and encourage community within their brands. So hopefully that painted a better picture for you.
Yeah, it's great. And any sort of one or two, like just kind of success story, something that over the 20 years with a customer or brand, in terms of just an amazing or interesting story for our listeners out there.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, we definitely have lots of customers and clients that I'm just like, it's so interesting to see how they utilize it. I just mentioned Lego. They have a really interesting way that they utilize our clubs feature. And like clubs, just long story short, they're like micro communities within a community. So like you can have a calendar, you can have an event, you can specify a location, you can have your own forums and your own image gallery, all within this club that's separate from like the main part of the community. So they're a really cool success story. I love how Squarespace uses our community. They're an amazing client. They have just a beautiful look and feel. I haven't even touched on like the look and feel of anything yet, but like every community can have its own distinct vibe. If it passes the vibe check, I know my team doesn't love me when I say that either, but it's true. Like it's got to pass a vibe check, and we have, not to be all salesy, but we do have a theme service where you can like hire us to create you a theme. So those are some great examples of clients of ours. And then I don't want to like have people roll their eyes, but like I'd like to consider my own community. It's called Breathe Heavy. I consider it wildly successful, if I do say so myself, because I think it literally connects 1 million people per month, unique, views. And we were the birthplace of the Free Britney movement. If you don't know what that is, essentially Britney was trapped in a conservatorship, and through literally 13 plus years of coverage and people commenting on it and exposing it, the community grew and grew and grew. And the community then put such a white hot spotlight amongst other people, of course. Breathe Heavy wasn't just the sole player, but it was a key player in my opinion. And it literally helped change someone's life. And like that is the power of community. That's why I'm bringing this up, not to like toot my own horn, but because it literally changed someone's life. Like there's quantifiable metrics to show like this helped somebody. That's super important. That's like that's the secret sauce of community, is helping people and connecting them. So yeah, if you guys want to check out Breathe Heavy after this like podcast / live stream, please do. And check out Invision Community. It's envisioncommunity.com. And we just sort of recently relaunched it with a new theme. And it's a beautiful looking website. It's got so much information. So if anyone has any questions, or they feel confused, or they're interested in starting community, but they don't know where to start, I totally feel you, totally understand. We have a contact form. Like, just reach out, take the first step. That's the hardest part of like this, paralysis by analysis. Like, what do I do? Should I add a community to my brand? Like, will it even help? It's going to be so much work. And I know I'm like rambling a little, but I do want to say one little thing about that too, is like starting community is, I'm not going to lie to you, it's freaking hard. It's difficult. You have to realize that there's a couple components that create success, in my opinion, with community. It's time, which I know is annoying because you can't control that, but it is what it is. It's time, it's effort, creating content, being there, showing up for your community, and creating experiences. I think that that's super important. Create experiences for your members, because that is what they'll reflect on in the future and then inspires them to return. And I think our platform has so many amazing tools. I know I'm like geeking out right now about our platform, but like it changed my own life to the point where I'm like so inspired. I wanted to like be a part of this team, and I just can see what it does for people. So reach out to us. And if you're starting out, don't be intimidated. We'll help you. And just take a deep breath, and you got this.
Nice. And then two quick questions before we get over to the community news portion of the thing. So with, so it's great learning about Envision, lots of compelling reasons there why. You also got theme help, which can be a blocker for some people. But then just kind of like with Breathe Heavy, did you ever get to meet or talk to Brittany? Is there any like one story that might be interesting? Um, to us?
Yeah, definitely. I've met her a number of times. I've been on stage with her a few times. Actually met her for the first time here in Vegas, right before one of her VMA performances. So yeah, so I've had like a really interesting herstory, with Brittany, um, and it's been to look back and be like, I'm 34 today, and I started my community when I was 15, just about to turn 16 years old. Like, the power of community is immense. I'm, living proof of that. And yeah, like, I've had a lot of great experiences, with Britney fans, with pop, Breathe Heavy is also a pop music news community as well. So I've been able to interview artists like Fergie and Lady Gaga. And it's just like, all this has happened in my career because of community, and Envision community played in my opinion, a pivotal role in all of that, because without this platform, like, there's no way to reach people. There's no way to connect them. Like, I can want to do all these things, but to take action, you need a platform. And in my opinion, like, I think ours is the best.
That was the mic drop. And so with that, kind of interesting with that community, when did Brittany first start to even learn about this community? And did Brittany have like anything like, wow, this whole community that you sort of brought together, where sort of the topic of your community becomes aware of it, and then you have opportunities now to connect with them?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to, like, obviously I don't want to speak for Brittany, but over the course of Breathe Heavy's history, she's definitely visited it, perhaps maybe recently. And it's an honor. It's cool to know that, like, I've helped contribute to something, and created something, but then more importantly, the community is the community is, I know it's cheesy again, but like, it's without them, there's just me speaking, which is like, that's no, I mean, hopefully I'm not boring people right now, but it's community is just, two heads are better than one. And so, I don't have any sort of way to get in touch with her at the moment, but I'd like to think if she's, visiting and whatever, she thinks it's cool. Breathe Heavy in general, not just for her, but for pop artists and for the members, it's supposed to be a place of light. That's the point of community. I don't personally frequent communities when they're, toxic, and they're just like, the moderation's lacking, and it's just like, it's a slippery slope. Those are a lot of the problems that social media faces, is there's just not enough hands on deck. That's one of the great things about our platform as well, is there's automatic moderation tools built in. And so, but to answer your question, I'd like to think she thinks it's a cool place, and that hopefully, Breathe Heavy's a source of good for her. That's what I'd like to think.
Nice. And so we will transition over to community news portion, just going around news. You're welcome to stick around for that. I mean, paying it forward, just kind of like so much you've done to help kind of like one person's life, but inspire like countless others. So here's a person in Brittany that inspires people, and other people out there. Now they can all like connect together, because it's kind of meaningless if all these fans don't have a tool where they can easily connect. So it's really great as kind of like proof in the eating, or proof in the pudding, however you want to say it, that Envision can really, whether you're doing something with Britney Spears or a large enterprise company, there's something for you using Envision. Happy 20 years for Envision, and happy birthday. And we will turn it over really quickly, go around some community news before we all get stuck into meetings at the 30-minute mark. I'll bring Valentina back up. Valentina, we go from Eat Out Madrid to Free Britney all in the same like hour. This has been amazing.
I love it.
Hi.
Hi. We didn't actually get a chance to say hi before.
Yeah, so just kind of, so that's really amazing. He's like, we got Jordan on here for Free Britney talking about Envision, and he's like, yeah, I've interviewed Fergie, Lady Gaga, Mike Ross.
Random people. No one ever won.
Have you had them on Disciple Media yet, Valentina?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Nice. All right, so we're
I'll
just
put
going to go
in a
around.
word for
Okay.
you.
Just go around a little bit for some community news. I'll get your thoughts as well. So CMX just launched their community industry report. I don't know if either of you had a chance to read it, but everybody that I know has talked about it, said that engagement is like where so many people are hurting, and community engagement is where people are going to start to invest and look at. Do y'all have a time to check that out, or
Huh?
have either of you had time to check out the CMX industry report? Get any thoughts on it?
You know what? It's a long report, and it's one of those things that you need to sit down and have like a lot of time to go through. But I remember the report from last year, and I'll be honest, I'm not surprised that the same things are coming up. Like people finding it hard to prove the value of the community, and and people still trying to find jobs, the right jobs, even though there's far more jobs being shared now. It's still difficult, but we're growing slowly but surely, which is good, right?
Yeah, and it's just interesting if so many people are struggling with engagement, that we had your framework on today, but just that's kind of interesting that so many people now are heads down into meetings. Like how do we get this engagement, things like that. So hopefully, if they watch the show today, they'll get stuff out of it. And it's also a good segue because over at Community Club, they just released this huge ebook, 76 pages. It's called the Community Engagement Playbook. I think one of you might even have a tip featured in that.
That would be me. Page 19, I talk about the power of tagging, which I talked about earlier, and what I do on a daily basis to try and encourage engagement, what has happened since doing that. So maybe that will help you. But there are so many other great engagement plays in there. Again, you really need to take some time to sit down, grab your favorite drink, get comfortable, and really read through. It's not a skimming kind of playbook. You don't just skim through it. You need to look and be like, okay, what shall I do next, kind of thing.
Nice. And I think between that, kind of in the Spark framework. So start with the Spark framework, go then check out the community clubs, this 76 pages, so much amazing nuggets. You definitely need time to go through with it. It's a PDF, so you can read it like anywhere you want to go, things like that. And then also the industry report, also signaling that people are hurting with engagement. So this it's kind of interesting trends kind of going on in the industry. And then just last week, or this week, sorry, it feels like a week ago, the first event that RD and Heidi did for the Community Leadership Institute. They just did this event in Memphis where people got back into person and in real life. And so Keely out here that was at Clicks in Memphis says, Richard Millington never disappoints. In my opinion, IMO, for a lot of people like, what's IMO? In my opinion, he is an online community genius. He can get to the heart of a matter backed up by research and data. He is so targeted in his approach to create value for community members and for the company hosting the community. Wow, that's a lot in a tweet.
Yeah. He is very thorough, and he's been in the industry for years. He knows his stuff. And it just goes back to the importance of doing the research and tracking what has been happening over the years, whether that's in the industry as a whole or just your community, because you have nothing to compare it to. Like, why would you not track it? So if you're not doing it, do it today.
Nice. And then Richard Millington also at the same event says, look at this. This is all community professionals this week that happened from the Community Leadership Institute team. People back in person, community professionals. You got everyone in this picture from Richard. I see John Summers there. So many amazing people in one photo. David speaks. Just amazing and heartwarming just to see like, hey, we're all getting back off of Zoom calls where we're actually like, hey, we're real people in real life too.
We exist.
My invite must have gotten lost in the mail.
Nice.
Like, is there going to be a community day? Like we're doing community hour now. Like,
all right.
Community day with up.
Yeah, for sure. And then another interesting person out there, Rosie Shiri, definitely a game for Community Day, says community can't exist without. So as an icebreaker question, while we still have you here, Valentina Jordan, community can't complete the sentence. Community can't exist without
Consistency.
Passion.
Mm.
Community can't exist without Brittany. That's what I'll go with for today.
That was my second choice. Yeah.
Nice. And then just quickly, Bill Johnson, he's got his own live podcast. Season 3, they're going to focus on the metaverse and what the metaverse means to community. So as you're kind of wrapping your head around W3, NFTs, all that stuff, they're looking even further ahead in terms of the metaverse, which is going to impact all of us as community professionals. Maybe not in the next few months, but it's definitely here coming. And we'll put a link to that into everything that we're doing. But just kind of his Bill's was at Dell and so many amazing places. So it's kind of cool to see people like him doing events and things like this. And then also just really quickly, our friend Chris just did a podcast with Jenny Weigel, a community consultant here out of California. I think she might be in the community club too, but just Peers Over Beer podcast. Jordan, Valentina, if you haven't been, I think Valentina might have been on, I can't even remember, but it's a fun podcast where you can drink beer and talk community.
Yeah, I've been on an episode, but we didn't drink any beer. It was a long time. No. That may change if we did it again.
Oh no! Why weren't there? Why wasn't there?
I don't know why. That was a bad error on my part.
Oh wow! Well, who knows? I mean, it's like with the pandemic life. There's some days it's like beer, some days it's tea, some days it's just grab your favorite book and sit out on the patio.
Some days it's nothing.
Yeah, you got to have like the days where just throw the smartphone. What the hell? Because we're just living and breathing on these like laptops and computers too much as it is. Do I need another like smartphone to just, it's like, dude, give me some detox time for sure. And just kind of wrapping up on the show. So for both of you, just kind of any final thoughts on this week in community, anything else that's interesting or exciting going on in community or anywhere else that you want to quickly mention before we wrap up today?
Yeah, I'm going to touch on something you kind of just mentioned. I think it's a really important component to being a community, leader or community member is giving yourself some space to have a moment, to not be so tied to the internet and all that. Like, obviously digital communities are what we live and breathe, but it's also important to have balance. And so I think that oftentimes we can get so kind of sucked into our projects and our roles and our careers that we forget to stop and smell the roses. So I appreciate you mentioning that. And if I don't get a chance in a second, I do want to say thank you for having me on this. It's been a really great opportunity.
And I'll come back with the hat to end it where I started.
Love this. I was like, where are you going? Did I offend him?
No, yes, the hat. I threw it so far away I couldn't easily grab it, and I don't have like one of those crawler hand things.
I'm a little
People
jealous.
watching like, what is going on? Valentina, anything from you?
Yeah, I just want to echo what Jordan is saying. I have been feeling overwhelmed, and yesterday I took the afternoon off because it got too much, and I didn't realize how important it is to take some time and do something that brings you joy. Because again, we get sucked in to this. Community is not a 9 to 5 job. As much as many people may sign off, like our brains are still thinking about it all the time, about what we can do, or what if I forgot to do, or tomorrow I've got to do this. You do need to take time away. Otherwise, you're going to burn out. So listen to your body and really just step away from the computer, the phone, or whatever, and enjoy things that you like doing, whether that's walking in the park. Or for me, yesterday, I went to have some acupuncture and I got some ice cream, and then I went and did some dancing. Those bring me joy. So make sure you're putting those into your life, even if you have to schedule it, because it's so important.
Yeah, it's like in video games, like you have the power meter where you can kind of see where you're going low. But as a professional or personal, it's like, I mean, there's devices today and apps, but it's kind of like knowing when that power is low. but then getting out of the loops where you're not doing something that's unintentionally like adding to anxiety or stress or like something that's taxing you. And like for me, like in Vegas, they've got this amazing trail. It's like 2 miles, and it's just getting out there with my two dogs or going out to mountains. But then the exercise is keeping the smartphone turned off unless I need to like take a picture or capture something. But it's like just that's the time for to kind of unwind, and everybody has like different types of unwind things. But then it's just kind of weird when I see like other people at these places that are just still like pressed up on their smartphone. It's like you're kind of doing it right, you're outdoors, you're doing something, but you still like right there like scrolling or answering texts, and it's like you just like they haven't had like that digital like intervention yet. And so it's just like knowing it's like, hey, it's okay. Like the problems, the issues are still going to be there. So just take a pause to put your laptop down and smartphone, and there's so much going on, but just finding those moments to recharge your battery, getting out of those anxiety, these other loops that are taxing you. And it's really weird because it's like an invisible enemy. You can't always see it. And then just kind of knowing like the page today is blank, like you can do anything. Maybe today say, hey, let's do an awesome trip. When's the last time you spoiled yourself? When's the last time someone you've loved, you've treated them to an amazing day? Maybe that's something you do, or you've got a pet or a family member. Just find something of joy for yourself today, or just give back to like other people and just ripple effect. Get out there with engagement, but finding the time for yourself, things like that. But I will look absolutely ridiculous in a marching hat. Eventually, I'll add to this and do other things. But for the second episode, which is like the first episode of Community Hour, just bringing you the latest in community with the hottest guests, the most exciting guests from around the world of community, learning about it, what's going on every week coming in. You can always reach out to me on LinkedIn. And I totally forgot to put a link to my thing. But if you ever want to be on the show, definitely here, or you've got community news that you want to share, definitely put that out there. Everybody that's out there, let us know what you're thinking, you're doing. We definitely want to hear for that. And I also forgot I do this giveaway every week. I forget to actually give away the giveaway, so it's kind of like defeats the purpose. But we do a giveaway, so I'll put a link to that into chat. And then just like the announcement, working with Pablo Gonzalez, the relationship flywheel. He's got this amazing workshop. So if you're out there doing like the MBA for CMX Academy or C School, things like that, Pablo also has an amazing relationship flywheel workshop. I can't wait to take it. Highly recommend it. Pablo also has this amazing podcast called the B2B Community Builders Show. And so they're going to graciously start hosting all the audio versions of the Community Hour. So we'll get an entirely different audio only version. It's so interesting. Some people are like, I'm a YouTube person, I'm a ebook person, and other people are like, I'll never spend a second of my life on YouTube. So that's fine. That's cool. We're not going to get you on Twitch and other places, but now we can do this whole like audio thing. So that's it on my side for episode 2. Pay it forward. Hopefully everybody got something out of it today from everybody. We had people from all over the world. Don't know if we went too far east with Australia, but we at least went as far as Bangalore, India. This is Blake. Ridiculous. Hopefully a little bit high energy today. Haven't had my coffee yet. It's so early out here in Vegas. And then I'll go through Valentina and Jordan. Anything you want to say as we wrap up and close out? And also just shout out to Matt. Matt Meckham's one of the most amazing people out there in community. I think people usually say his last name wrong. I forget what that was. It was like Meckham or Meacham or something, where he just drives me nuts. So, hey, we just giving him a shout out, driving him nuts on the same thing. So we can add some Britney Spears and then his stuff. But just Matt is so generous with his time out in the UK, doing all this amazing running, inspiring people. But another person like Valentina and Jordan that are out there, not only just talking about community, but making it happen, touching the lives of other people, making it better for all of us. And so it's just great when we have some of the people. And so Matt says, you can't see it here, but Matt says, me chum. So that's just, if you ever see Matt, his name is pronounced Matt Meacham. So just whenever you see Matt, just say, hey, Meacham. And that's it. But so, Valentina, Jordan, thanks for being on for the first time here today. So I'll let each of you say a few words and we will close out because I know we've got probably 1 million people sending us all types of messages on platforms and devices. Where are you?
I just want to say thank you, Blake, for having me on. It's been great. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, and yeah, let's all help each other build communities.
Thanks, Valentina.
Yeah, same. Yeah, appreciate you having me on as well. And also, if you're interested in building a community, please check out envisioncommunity.com. And if you want some of a Britney fix, go to Breathe Heavy and reach out there as well.
Wow, just so many amazing stories. We got such a wide variety, which shows community. It's just this profession is so amazing. There's such a diversity of people that are working in this, so many amazing females in our industry, so many people from all walks of life, from all over the world that contribute and make it great. One of the most diverse professions to work into, and voices, so many people that inspire and give back, so many great people. So it just makes showing up each and every day like so great, even if we're not all like we're trapped in our own little work bubble. But just remember, community starts with the we, not the me. Pay it forward, do something amazing today, give yourself some joy. This is it. End of Community Hour episode 2, season 1. Have fun, take off the jacket, roll up the sleeves. It's time to go out, get engaging in community. And don't worry, you're not an imposter. We all start somewhere. We've got this, you've got this. Let's go.